Okay, so the full ground operation is on its way. It's expanding. It's happening. Welcome to day 25. Let's talk about it. So today at about 1:40 p.m. local time, 7:40 a.m. Eastern time, the IDF announced that they're going deeper in. Now, originally, the IDF came in at the outskirts of northern Gaza. From the north, they came in from Beit Hanun and Beit Lahia from the north side, about 2 miles in. And also they came in from the middle, carving out northern Gaza from South Gaza, all across the Saladin highway, which is basically the only supply chain in which Hamas can mobilize support logistics to the troops up north. That's done to carve out the north and isolate it from the south. It's a strategic play. I'll talk about it in a second. But today, what they've done, they've started going in deeper and deeper in order to cut supply chains and carve out the north completely. Think of it like a circle of death or a scissor movement where the forces are starting to basically go deeper and deeper in, closing in on the Hamas terrorists that are still inside. Today they went in deeper with more forces coming in from the other lines. So as the existing lines came in deeper and deeper, more forces are now entering the outskirts, the 2 miles that they've created already and they've secured already. More forces are starting to mobilize then. Now we have reports of fierce combats right now. Fierce combats in the north side. This is kind of the hard shell. Think of Gaza as like a nut, and this is the hard shell they have to penetrate in order to get inside North Gaza and secure it completely. Now, according to the IDF, a few things happened during the combats today so far. A number of outposts, outlook posts have been eliminating. This is more of an intelligence play to take out the forward intelligence outlook posts that are basically blinding the Hamas without being able to see the forces in the ground. The other thing they've been taking out, a lot of weapon storage, weapons depots, logistical supply chains, but more importantly, lots and lots of Cornet missile positions have been taken out. You have to understand something. Unlike RPGs, which are rocket-propelled grenades, you know, the classic ones you've seen in the films, you can pop out of a hole and you can shoot at a tank. Cornet, which is a Russian anti-tank missile, deadly one, and fairly new, about 20 years old. It's very heavy. It's kind of mobile, but not really. It weighs a lot. You know, it's a 2-man team, and each man has to carry about like 45 pounds or 50 pounds of this thing. You have to set it up. You have to unload it. There's a lot of process going on with Cornets. Yes, they're kind of mobile, but mostly they're stationary. And a lot of them are pre-positioned to wait as ambush for incoming tanks by the IDF. So today they cleared out a lot of these setups, a lot of the outlook posts that are supposed to support these Cornet positions and all the weapon depots. And essentially they're deepening the entrance into the Gaza, the north side of Gaza, to cut off the south from the north, essentially suffocate the ones that are still in the north. Now, we have reports of hundreds of Hamas terrorists dead so far in the last few days. No IDF casualties so far. We had one IDF casualty yesterday where there was a tank accident in the north border of Israel when a tank flipped over and an IDF soldier died, but nothing in Gaza so far. They basically, the way they operate right now is kind of it's been taken from Ukraine, a few lessons. So each unit has infantry group, a few tanks, drones that are working with the tanks as kind of a, you know, extra eyesight for the tanks, and the Air Force on the top with Apache helicopters and Cobra helicopters, essentially supporting the teams on the ground and basically combining this joint fighting force, which is very hard for the Hamas to counter because they don't have none of this stuff. Now, it's going to be slow and methodical. They're going to be moving mile by mile, very, very, very slow. They're not rushing anywhere, unlike the previous operations where they were on the clock, when Israel was basically on the clock from the international community saying, hey guys, wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up. This time, Israel isn't stopping. They ain't waiting for nobody to give them permission. They're going all the way through with the full support of the United States, and they will keep doing this until they eliminate Hamas. Israel did agree to allow constant movement of aid, which means food and water and medical supplies into Gaza on a daily basis, and they did restore internet so that the aid organizations can actually coordinate, which is now an ongoing thing. Now, we've saw that Russia have basically become best friends with the Hamas at this point, which is not surprising. And you know, you've seen what happened in Russia over the past 48 hours. We had the lynch mob, literally in the Makhachkala, which is in Dagestan. Now, Dagestan is not really hardcore Russia, but it's still technically Russia. But for Putin, it's a very cynical use of this mess to create a distraction, a diversion from what's going on in Ukraine. He needs this thing to be vocal, to be messy, and to be absolutely noisy so that people forget about Ukraine and what he's doing in Ukraine, which is far less evident right now given the focus of the world has shifted towards Gaza, which is his endgame and why he's buddy-buddy with Hamas. Now, the IDF managed to release and break out one of the hostages, a female soldier. Apparently, they obtained intel on the position and location of the hostage, and they went in with special forces and broke that soldier out. It's a good win for the Israeli intelligence after the October 7th embarrassment. So as they are on the ground more and more, they're going to keep gathering more quality intel like that on location of hostages, on locations of weapons, on tunnels. This is just the start. Now, apparently some Qatari officials are actually on the ground in Israel, which hasn't happened, at least in my lifetime. And if that's the case, they're definitely talking about the hostage deal that's brewing up. Hopefully they get more of them out. Now, one of the heads of the Hamas, Musa Abu Marzouk, went on TV yesterday and said, hey, the tunnels that we have are strictly for Hamas fighters. What about the civilians? Well, the UN should build bomb shelters for them. It's not our job. Now, imagine that happening in the context of what's going on right now in Gaza, and nobody seems to care that Hamas is literally using these guys, these civilians, as hostages, as human shields. And that's on top of Khalid Mashal, another key operator in Hamas and one of the heads of the Hamas, who also said 2 days ago that the more blood that will be spilled by Palestinian civilians, the more leverage we get from the international community. They're literally telling you this in your face. They're telling you, hey, we don't care about civilians. We're going to use them cynically to promote our position and our survivability as Hamas and our goals. We don't care about civilians. In fact, we want more of them to die. That's literally what these guys said over the past 48 hours. And so the world doesn't get it. I don't understand why. Now, another interesting thing happened today. The Arrow missile system, which is another one of the many layers of the aerial defense of Israel, actually shut down a ballistic missile which was shot from Yemen. Now, a ballistic missile isn't something you see every day in Israel, even though they have a lot of tensions with their neighbors. But what it gives Israel is actually an opportunity to use the Arrow system the first time in this war and showcase again the high precision and the great execution of their aerial defense layers, which is another good achievement for Israel. And they need some after what happened on October 7th. Now, on the Lebanese Northern front, it's the same tit for tat with Hezbollah, but not getting escalated so far. Same on the West Bank, lots of clashes, lots of skirmishes, but again, not heating up to a full-scale war. If they can keep it this way, it's full profit for Israel, because more fronts for Israel is not something they're looking for right now. And Hamas is actually complaining about it on TV. Hamas officials are going on TV and saying, hey, Hezbollah, you betrayed us. You're traitors. You're not coming to help us. Essentially, there's a lot of beef internally going on between the Sunni Hamas and the Shia Hezbollah. Basically, Hamas is saying, hey, you betrayed us. And Hezbollah basically, they don't get to say anything about this because they will do what the Iranians are saying. And the Iranians are saying, well, look, Hamas, you're disposable Dixie cups. We don't care. We're not going to destroy Lebanon and the Shiite movement that we built in Hezbollah to help you out. You're on your own. So a lot of tensions going on internally. It's not as unified as you would think. Now, the military tactic for Israel isn't complicated. In fact, it's brilliantly simple. Keep air superiority over Gaza, check. Keep naval superiority off the coast of Gaza, check. 100% Israeli superiority. On the Egyptian side, the border is controlled by Egyptian army and bolstered Egyptian army, so nothing can come out from there. The entire border with Israel is 100% fortified, and now the Israeli military is pushing forward the border from the north, kind of closing in. Imagine like a Fortnite video game where you have that circle, and the circle keeps closing in on you until you have a little circle. That's literally what Israel is doing in the north. Now, the reason they're doing this, the reason they're creating this ring of suffocation for the northern Gaza is, number one, you're cutting off the north from the south. So there's no reinforcements, no supplies, no help logistically from the south. More importantly, you get obviously more quality intel. You're on the ground, you're pushing forward, more intelligence, more hostages released, more kills of Hamas terrorists, more weapon depots, etc., etc., etc. You expose a lot of tunnels and you take away the highway. So as this closes, it becomes more and more challenging for Hamas to get out of this. Obviously, they're going to inflict a lot of pain, and there's going to be deaths on each side, 100%. Israeli soldier lives will be lost. But when Israel has total air superiority, total naval superiority, and they're cutting off Gaza methodically slow without being on a time crunch, eventually they're going to crack Hamas. There's no way out of this for Hamas. The only thing that played for Hamas' favor in the previous cycles is the fact that Israel were on the clock and they were rushing to it. This time, they're going to take it slow, methodically, and it doesn't seem like there's a good ending for this. Now, the reason things have changed kind of conceptually for Israel here, and they're going to go full until they finish off Hamas here, is because you have to understand from the Israeli perspective, this is kind of like Pearl Harbor and 9/11 combined. They're not going to negotiate with Al-Qaeda, ISIS, or the Taliban. They're going to finish them off, and they won't stop until they do so. And I think it's a good thing. See you in the next video.